You know how Nintendo came out with an updated version of the Nintendo Switch? Well, I've got one here, and I'm not gonna review the outside, we're gonna take a look at the inside. If you've been following me for very long, you know that I like to buy new tech, game consoles specifically, but you also know that I don't like to just look at the outside and see how pretty it is. I like to get to the inside, so let's take it apart. Now, I run a busy game console repair shop, so I've actually repaired hundreds of these already, so I want to take a look at the inside, see if there's any differences from this unit and the old unit. So I'll be comparing this motherboard with the motherboard of the previous Nintendo Switch model. I'm using my favorite electric precision screwdriver, and I will link this in the description below if you're interested in purchasing one for yourself. Everything so far is exactly the same. Okay, and let's reveal the inside. And there we go. Thermal paste is nice and fresh and fairly liquid still. So far it looks pretty much identical to the previous models. Now with the back off of this one, I'm gonna open up one of the previous models of the Switch so then we can compare them side by side. So this model is a HAC-001 and -01 in parentheses. This is model HAC-001. Okay, and here we have the first model. Let's open this up and have a look. First things first, on the first generation Nintendo Switch, we've got a 3.7 volt, 4300 milliamp hour battery. And over on the new model, we've got 3.7 volt, 4310 milliamp hour battery. So the battery on the new version Nintendo Switch is actually exactly the same as the old. Now, most of you probably heard that the new model has better battery life. That seems to be because they've updated the main chip to consume less power, so therefore you get a longer battery life. So let's look at a few other things while we're in here. The charging system seems to be exactly the same. It's got all the same parts here, all the same parts over here, and the configuration seems exactly the same as well. So let's get all the rest of the stuff off of each of these so we can get a better look at the motherboard and also the main chips. The heatsink on the new version and the old version is also exactly the same. Now we come to the game slot, and the game slot also looks exactly the same other than the fact that this one is really dirty. Other than that though, looks exactly the same. And it looks like even the same chip numbers on the two game slots. Now for the fans, let's check those. We've got exactly the same part number, DC 5 volt 0.32 amps, 5 volt 0.32 amps. These fans are also exactly the same. So we have the video chip here on each side and all of these little components. So I do notice these are much smaller. They're little filters for the video signal, and these are fairly large. So that's a change that I notice. This area looks pretty much exactly the same. Same with this area. We've got some different looking chips here, and this looks the same. These look mostly the same, although it is a little bit different. This has quite a bit smaller chips, which might make sense since it does draw a little bit less power. This area, and this area are all over here. It looks like they're kind of streamlined a little bit. We've got one less chip. Over here we have this chip, and over here we do not. And over here we have the addition of this chip, and over here we don't. So a little bit different configuration. Since there's no schematics or anything, there's just no way to know what all those are for. And over here we have pretty much all the same on each side. So the motherboards are very, very similar, a few minor updates. But next, let's take the shields off and have a look at the chips, and then after that we'll look at the JoyCons, specifically the joysticks, to see if those have updated designs to help them from drifting as much as the previous version. But let's take these shields off and look at the main chips next. So right away I notice pretty big change. This chip is definitely bigger than this new updated chip, and this one also has a different number on it. So we definitely do have different chips, and this one is for sure smaller, which I would guess would account for the lower power consumption. So there's a look at the motherboard on the old Switch and the new Switch. Let me know if I missed any changes that you saw down in the comment section below. Now let's take a look at the JoyCons. So here is the new model of JoyCon, model HAC015, which is exactly the same as the old one. Let's get this one apart and check it out. And here we go with the new JoyCon. Let me get the other JoyCon apart so we can compare. Let's check the sizes of batteries first. We've got a model number HAC006, same on this one. This one is 3.7 volts, 525 milliamp hour, 3.7 volts, 525 milliamp hour, 1.9 watt, 1.9 watt hour. So the batteries are also the same. And here's the look at the inside of the old version versus the new version. We've definitely got some minor circuitry changes through here. Got several chips here, whereas we have this one main one and a few smaller ones, but not the same as over here. Now, one of the main things I want to look at is the analog stick, and it does look like they definitely are different. So let's get these out and take a closer look at them. Now before we get those all the way out, I do notice these little switches right here are the same on both. That's a little bit disappointing because these are fairly weak. If you watch my video where I fixed a whole bunch of JoyCons all at once, then you know that those little switches commonly break off. I'll put a link to that video up on your screen now so you can watch that if you haven't. Now let's get those analog sticks out. Okay, and here we have the new and we have the old. So we do have a similar design, but definitely a little bit different. They feel pretty much the same, but they definitely are different. This one's got a 7K4C, this one says 89F1. So they look different from the outside, but we need to take them apart to see what they look like from the inside to see if they're actually different. As most of you probably know, these were major problems on the first edition Nintendo Switch JoyCons, as they would get little pieces of dust in them, and then it would cause the analog stick to drift, which is very annoying when you're trying to play a game. So most of the time you could just clean them out, but sometimes you just had to replace them. So let's see if they've updated their design and made it better, or is it worse? So that is how that one is made. Got these two sliding pieces that slide against here and against here, against those contacts. The metal contacts here correspond with these metal contacts here. We've got the main button here, and then we have this piece right here. It's got an indentation here. This is what keeps the stick in one place, kind of in the middle, and makes it kind of want to return back to where it came from. So that is the new updated version. Let's take the old one apart and have a look and see if they're any different. Okay, we've almost got it. Got a little bit more to go. There we go. So here we have the brand new style and the old style. You can see the brand new style has this dip right here in the case, and this does not. Don't know how much better that is. I'm assuming it is made to be quite a bit better, but it's really hard to know for sure. And once again, this is the old style and this is the new style. Actually looks fairly similar here. This piece looks maybe a little bit smaller. This piece looks a little more burlier. And let me take the springs off so we can see what looks different in there. And old style versus new style. This, I mean, it looks pretty similar. I do see this plastic seems maybe a little bit dull and this one's a little bit more white. So I'm wondering if maybe they used some sort of different plastic in this, but it's really hard to tell too much of a difference. There is, you know, some larger holes, channels in here than there is over here. But overall, this one definitely is different. There's no way to know whether it's going to be an improved design over this until people start using these new JoyCons, but I'm hopeful that the small changes that they made to this will make it better. So the JoyCons definitely are a little bit different on the new version of the Nintendo Switch. Not too many changes, but a few small ones on the motherboards, it looks like. What did I miss? Did I miss reviewing something you want to see? Let me know in the comment section below. I can definitely say that this new Nintendo Switch is definitely worth buying if you haven't bought a Switch yet. I don't know that I would say that it's worth upgrading if you already have a Nintendo Switch, but if your old one is worn out or broken and you don't want to send it in to me to fix, then this definitely would be a good upgrade. I'll put a link up on the screen if you want to see me try and fix a whole bunch of Nintendo JoyCons. So come hang out with me over there if you want to see if I can fix them and make money off of them. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a good day.